just danced into this new day like I was busting an up. Oh, feels so good, rising up, I'm on the own. Just got on the radio, it's a positive mood. It's something like it's the perfect mood. Sonic waves glaze for days in the sunlight haze. I feel good to be alive. All this shit that beat me down the corners, I still survive. It ain't all complicated. I'm glad I found you. That's when you open your heart and us around you.
That's right, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Ain't That Right. I'm your host, the Dunkin' Dad, here on the Cold Sports Digital Network, SR1029thegame.com. We are back better than ever. It's a beautiful, beautiful Tuesday afternoon here in the Northeast, across most of the Eastern Seaboard, giving you your weather update because you got to get outside while it's nice. The humidity comes in, rolls in, it's blanket, it's like soup, gets all hot and muggy. You just want to be inside, fresh air, light, sunshine. It's good for you. We like it. Speaking earlier, and there's something to be said, man, to being out there in the elements, really taking things. I've been trying to really get into the meditation-y side of like listening before going to sleep, and basically just trying to settle the thoughts in my mind before hitting the next day, right? And there's always want to know what's going on, what's happening, what's taking place. And one of the questions that always comes up is, who's doing this, who's doing that, who's making this kind of move, who's making that kind of move. And we are so transfixed on trying to keep track of all of this at all times that, let's be honest, it gets overwhelming. And I was thinking to myself, there's got to be something out there that I can use it for, like this metaphor, for this example. And just, again, always by happenstance, always by, sheer luck, whatever it is. Today happens to be International Owl Awareness Day. Like, how many licks does it take to the center of a Tootsie Roll Tootsie Pop? The world may never know, right? But that's how we are introduced to owls, right? Think about it. Tootsie Pop person, Winnie the Pooh, Harry Potter, if you're into that sort of, fantasy. But usually we're only given an example of an owl, stories, symbols, or in that rare moment, like that you're outside, maybe you go to the mountains for a visit, maybe you're walking across the field, maybe you've stopped and it's in the dusk, and you kind of hear that, ooh, and you're like, oh, it's an owl. Like, I've never seen an owl, but I've heard it, and basically we think about an owl being wise and being very observant, very sage-like, and in its real, truest form and sense, it's sort of like the watcher in the dark, big eyes, right? It sees things that other creatures overlook, right? It's the one that turns itself around. Like, we're always impressed by the fact that, man, this owl can turn his neck all the way around, almost 180, 270 degrees. But it's not doing it to be dramatic. He's not showing off. She's not showing off. It's because if we're going to be aware of things in our life, just how we talked about in the last episode about reading the room, we have to have this range, right? If we're fixated, we go in and we're looking for one specific response, one specific catalyst, so one specific motion or action, we're going to find it eventually, right? And what's going to happen is that you're going to miss so much more. And a lot of times we will convince ourselves that we have seen things, interpreted things, read the room correctly, when in essence we've missed a whole lot. Because being aware is multifaceted. Being aware is this entire range. It's being able to look all the way to the left, all the way to the right. Use the peripheral to see maybe what's coming up behind you, right? Objects in the rearview mirror appear closer than they are. And I think that's the lesson for us, because we live in this world that rewards what? Noise, speed, reaction. They're on top of it. Lightning quick. You're the first one to break the news. But the owl reminds us that that range of awareness, the wisdom doesn't come from being the loudest. It doesn't come from being the first. It comes from being the most observant. It comes from seeing the whole picture, not just the part that's right in front of us. Like, there's so many things that go on, so many things that happen. I'm like, oh, why'd people trade this guy? Why'd you move that guy? Why'd you take that job? Why'd you do this? Because it's not just about the one singular event, the one singular movement, what comes back, what goes out. It's all of this residual. And in our lives, the residual is what rises the water around us or drains out. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to have in your life these moments and these opportunities that will always be there and present themselves. And you're trying to read the room. You're trying to figure it out. You're trying to put yourself in the right position. You're trying to be the one who's catching the attention first, making the right impression. And you jump in, or you react. And yes, sometimes you don't need the full story. You have your own principles, convictions, disciplines that allow you to justify and consider what's going on and how you want to rationalize them out. But overall, that observation and seeing the whole picture of not what just is right in front of us. Because, oh, hey, here's the award, here's the best player, here's the bonus, here's the new title. Well, that's great and that's wonderful. But you just bought yourself 5 extra hours of work. You just bought yourself 15 extra people to manage. You just bought yourself 3 more hours away from your family and your own experiences that are meaningful to you. How are you going to switch? How are you going to adjust? So today we're going to use the owl, this figure, as our guide. We're going to talk about what it means to see clearly, listen deeply, not just hear, listen, and move through the dark moments of life with a steadiness instead of fear. Because progressing through and seeing this and taking that data, running the analysis, feeling what is in front of you, being aware of the unknown and how you react to it, being astute and tuned into what moves the needle for you. You may be in a really advantageous position, get this new project, get this new partner, you get this new venture, and the meter appears just off the charts. But in the background, you're thinking, my God, like, logistically, how do I do this? How do I create more time in the day? What needs to be sacrificed? What needs to be compromised? Does it fit into that matrix of, you know what, it's worth it in the long run? Because fully observing, I see what happens down the road, not just what's happening this afternoon. Although there's going to be afternoons, there's going to be days, there's going to be times where it's like, I need to happen right now. I need this not to be in place. I need this to be done because this other thing is a priority. This other event, this other commitment, it means more. Did I put myself in that right spot? So the owl, it's teaching us the patience. And it says that the patience in the dark, but it's patience in the gray area of life. Right? It's gritty. That's our first G, right? The grit. You know, the owl goes about its business the way that it sustains itself. It hunts with patience and waiting. The grit, the grind. It's not loud. It's not throwing the weights around. It's not blowing up on social media. It's not calling and telling everybody your business. It's quiet. It's disciplined. It's strategic. It's poised. It's having that air of confidence about you that when you're presenting yourself in those situations, you're steadfast. Because surviving in these chaotic moments isn't about an instant, unrehearsed, unpracticed, haphazard response. There's no panic. You've mastered this stillness. You've mastered these scenarios. You've mastered your response. So when you walk in expecting A and you get hit with B, C, D, and E, you're not caught off guard. You're not taken back. You're not flustered. You're prepared because you've observed. And observing is more than just seeing. It's feeling, it's tasting, it's embodying. It's doing the prep work. Well, why are you so good at this? Because I've done the repetition and I've done the practice and I've taken the steps and I've done the exercises over and over and over and over. So now when that autonomous reaction is called upon, I know which lever to pull. I have all the skill sets. I have the information that is given to me. It's not always about grinding. It's about holding your position until the time is right. Because we are browbeat to death about motion and motion and moving and moving. And I've said it too. I've said, don't worry about taking your time. Just worry about being still. There should always be progress. There should always be motion. But motion and progress are different. Sometimes we can progress in our lives at a slow pace. Sometimes there is no movement for progression. It's not wasted energy. Sometimes the progress itself, sometimes the actual movement forward, where it can be quantified that there's been growth, there's been acceptance, there's been mutual understanding, people on the same page. It comes along with patience and waiting for that time to be right, instead of just rushing through it to do it. Observe before you act. Always observe before you act. It's hard. That's why we practice. That's why we have the daily disciplines. That's why we run through these scenarios in our head. Did you prepare for your interview? No, I'm going to go in and I'm going to wing it. Okay? Did you prepare yourself for the relationship that you're in? Did you prepare yourself for the trip that you're going on? Wing it. Hey, man, I'm fine. Some people may have a different set of resources. Some people may have a different rationale and a mindset. You know you are your only you. All of these examples, all of these practices, all of these disciplines, they're all a guiding outline to be referenced upon to see what works and what doesn't work for you. Some things, yeah, they hold a little more credo, a little more truth than others. But you're observing yourself, right? You know what works for you. You know what doesn't work for you. Sometimes you BS yourself. I do it all the time. Being in a position where your energy is conserved and it's being allocated at the right time within the right opportunity. One of the worst things I think has ever happened is you go into a situation and you given this presentation, you're presenting yourself, presenting your idea, you're presenting what it is that you want to do, right? You're calling for philanthropy, you're calling for giving, whatever it is, and you go too fast. And you're like, oh, I missed my mark. I didn't, I should have felt this build coming in the conversation. And when I heard these keywords come out, when I saw the body language, I should have dialed it back. Conversely, when I see the opening, I have to be ready to seize it and take that opportunity. You have to trust your senses, even when others can't see what you see. You'll see in rooms, in relationships, people that are gravitated towards, and it's usually because they know when to push, they know when to pull, they know when to be happy, they know when to be sad. And it's a learned talent, it's a learned skill, it's observation. It takes time to master this, and the hardest part about mastering it is not the prescribed response. Oh, they're happy, I should be happy. They're serious, I should be serious. How it sits with you, how it resonates with you, how it actually becomes part and parcel to your own being. That's the trick. Man, if I'm in a situation where it's going to be very serious, what is the taxation on myself emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially, logistically? Where are my thresholds? What am I willing to give to get to give? So trusting the senses, trusting yourself, knowing thyself, right? Where in your life do we need to up our little algrit? Not forcing things, but just focusing. Because we glance over things all day. We backburner stuff all day. Deal with it later. Deal with it later. Till finally, when you're dealing with it, it's bigger and gotten more out of control than what you're either capable of doing, controlling, handling, engaging in, or it has exhausted what you're even able to do. It got too big for me. I missed the opportunity. Or I threw it on the barren soil, didn't give it enough attention, and now that opportunity is past. It's gone. It's dead. This idea of observation, this idea of reading the room, this idea of being fully aware, right? Again, mirror. Not only what you're seeing, but also what you're projecting. How it resonates. Remember, it's not a reflection. It's a full interpretation of my persona, my person, my psyche. Grace. Grit, grace. The silent flight of the owl. Owls are really cool. Their feathers are designed to like reduce turbulence, right? Like put it on some airplanes, be great. Not my favorite, but it's their grace, physically engineered. Like it's intentional. It's not accidental that the owl goes about its way in silence. It's who they are. They're committed to moving and hunting and exploring and observing gently. Not poking fun, not making comments, not trying to be the sounding point. You want to respond in situations that you've read the room and you've observed and you know how it is going to affect you without creating what? Unnecessary noise. Shout out, I think it's to the Russo brothers, right? Wedding Crashers, Vince Vaughn. Draw attention to yourself, but like in a positive way. It's a difference between reacting to something and easily gliding through it. Because you're able to control your response. You're able to raise, lower, bring to an abrupt close any sort of turbulence, any sort of backlash, any sort of excitement, sadness in your conversations, with your responses, with how you react, reflect, and accept what's being given off and what's getting back. You're moving with intention, not just with impulse. Man, they're pissed off. I'm going to be pissed off right back with them. Why are they pissed off? Man, they're so happy because I know. Okay, I'm happy because I said, but why are we happy? Oh, that's great. That's wonderful. Constantly observing, constantly reading, constantly meeting the response to the stimuli. We used to call this the use of force continuum, right? You want to be one above and then come back down and meet it. Or you want to be there to meet it and go up and down. There's all of these tactics and practices in your life where if you have, let's just use an example, you have someone they're a hothead and they're going off, and you have another person comes in and they're a hothead too. Well, you know that's just fire on fire. It's more and more, it's just going to get completely out of control. So why am I going to go in there and meet that same metric? Why am I going to go meet that same emotion? Does the situation call for it? Has there been other extenuating circumstances that lead me to believe that that's what should take place? Or have I observed? Has I patiently watched? Run through all of the countermeasures and come to the conclusion that that's the appropriate response. But when I do respond like that, and I do make that impact, when I do show them the happiness, when I do show them the excitement, after that initial outburst of whatever emotion it is, how do I bring it back? How do I ground it? How do I keep moving forward in the conversation? How do I reduce the noise in my life, but I'm not withdrawing? I'm refining how I'm moving and how I'm moving forward. Hey, I'm here. I'm all on board. I'm with you. I'm all in. This is great. This is wonderful. Let's celebrate now. Let's continue down this path. Or, let me get the hell out of here. Our third G is growth. Grit, grace, and growth today. Essentially, the idea of seeing in the dark. Not fishing in the dark. Not Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. Great song, by the way. Shout out to Father O'Neill back in the day. Spider, spider. It's an inside joke. Had to be there. Owls, like us, you want to get to a point where you don't fear the dark. If fearing the dark is fearing the unknown, feeling the how will I respond in this situation? Should I respond? Am I going to respond appropriately? Do I have enough in my cash to adequately meet the conversation? What am I bringing to this table? So I've got to be built for it. I got to be built for growth. I got to look in the places where maybe other people don't want to look. I've got to stay up and do the research. I've got to continue to invest in myself. I've got to take the extra step, go the extra mile. Why? Because you don't just wake up and you're not just smart. You don't wake up and you're well-rounded. You don't wake up and automatically know how you're going to be when you need to face a particular fear. It's trial, it's error, it's experience. The greatest teacher in the world is experience. And one of the best things about the advent of something like this artificial intelligence is that you can really get into it with yourself. What scares you? How do you feel in this certain situation? Now, is it going to give you the examples? No, but it's going to give you the prompts that maybe you don't want to think about, or maybe you are thinking about it, you're just too afraid to articulate it. You have to be able to hear and see the world differently than the way it's being packaged and presented to you. Owls have asymmetrical ears. They're angled different. They hear different pitches, different tones. Take that example. Don't be afraid to hear and see and taste and experience things in this world that are different than what is being force-fed to you. Go experience it. Go live it. Go question yourself. Maybe sometimes you're a butthead. I am. Maybe sometimes you need to be a little more open. Maybe sometimes you're just lazy. That's okay. The point and the purpose is to keep moving and to keep growing and keep going forward. Not just endless motion. Not just this perpetual push forward that is going nowhere. Think of fastball, right? The way. Where were they going without even knowing the way? Right? An owl doesn't just move its eyes like many other predators, other hunters. Right? It's a full motion of their entire head. They're bringing their full presence into this observation. And what does that mean? It means that if I'm really going to have a change in my perspective, if I'm really going to have a shift, if I'm really going to take something on because I want to be better, then my entire fixture, my entire focus has to move. I can't just glance over it. Can't just put an ear up. I can't just take it, move on. You're trying to be empathetic, trying to understand people's lives, problems. You can't just glance over it. Are you going to ever fully understand it? No. Why? Because you're not going to be in their shoes. You're not in their position. You don't have their history. But you're sure as heck going to be a lot more closer to it and understanding it if you actually invest and give yourself the time to observe it, as opposed to just, no, here's a little thing on the paper and moving on next. The darkness, the fear of the unknown, it's not dangerous. It's information that we have not yet learned to interpret. Look at situations differently. Look at places and things and people and personal habits, vices, etc. in life where maybe you've avoided some things. You know it's there. You know what's happening. You glance this way, you glance that way. Hairs on your neck stand up. That discomfort, we've always talked about it. That's data. That's information. And it's real, and it's raw, and whole, and honest, and it's true. Now, what I do with it, that's going to be on me. But you want to trust the fact that grit, growth, and grace, that you can navigate through this. Other people are going to be overwhelmed with it. Not you. Why? Why aren't you overwhelmed with it? Because you know who you are. You know what works, you know what doesn't work, you know where you need work, you know where you don't need work. You have practices. You have daily disciplines. You have a routine. Sometimes your routine is a haphazard mess, but it works for you. Well, maybe you should pull some of those strings in. Never know. But right now, as we wrap up our OWL segment for today, ask ourselves, what part of our life right now feels like we're in the dark? And if we really let ourselves see what was going on, not making the excuses, not glancing over it, not turning it into an environmental factor, not turning it into a financial factor, not turning it into the world is, piling it on to me. But if we just really looked at it and observed and gave yourself a little bit of temperance, a little bit of patience, a little bit of time to understand it, how would we be different? What are some things that we would change? So if you want to carry on with one thing from today, understand that the idea of the owl and its wisdom, it's not some mystical mumbo-jumbo, made-up, sage-like talent or gift that exists. No. Wisdom comes from experience. It's practical. It's built from patience, perspective, observation, and courage. Courage enough to sit there in the dark and figure out, hey, I've really let myself see what's going on. I've really set myself up for success because now I've taken these blinders off. We can see great at night. Once you get outside and your eyes adjust and the ambient light goes down, it's amazing how much you can really see. But just to throw you outside in the middle of the night, initially you're like, holy cow, what the hell's going on? Where am I at? But be like the owl as best as you possibly can. Don't panic. Don't rush to react. You're not out there performing. You're not out there moving just to move. See things fully, see things honestly, and see things without fear. Fear is that unknown. Things are going to be scary. Things are going to suck. Things are not going to be the most friendly things to do all the time. People are like, oh, there's fear of the unknown. It's not fear of the unknown. It's the fear of seeing what you already know completely revealed and laid out with no filters. You're built to see more than you think. You're built to hear more than you realize and what you're being fed. You're built to survive these nights and these moments in your life because people have done it for millennium. Don't react to these unknown little shadowy things in your life that are popping in and out. Stop assuming the worst. The greatest tool that creates fear is right up here. Worrying about things that never even existed. Creating in our own mind. Because maybe we were afraid to see everything. Let your wisdom be quiet. Understand that you're capable of navigating this life and this unknown and these rooms and these situations and these jobs and these relationships. Because you're going to keep your eyes open. You're going to turn your head and give full attention to the details. And you're going to move ahead with that full grit, with grace, and grow as an individual because you're not afraid to challenge yourself. So as we wrap up our International Owl Awareness Day, and we can try to figure out how many licks it takes to get the center of Tootsie Roll Tootsie Pop, honestly, I believe the world will never know. I think there's somebody who did it. Somebody, go ahead and look it up. It was just fun just to think about it as you were a kid. Be patient, be kind, observe, react appropriately, understand how those reactions affect you, the toll that it takes on you, and put yourself in a position where you're not only giving what your heart's desire wants to give and do, but also getting in return those things that sustain you and build you up and make you better. I will see you guys later this week. Enjoy the remainder of your Tuesday. Be sure to check out everybody on the program, on the network. Take care.